Brett Okamoto with ESPN alongside Felicia Spencer, who takes on, of course, Cris Cyborg in a featherweight bout at UFC 240 here in Edmonton. And Felicia, I mean, when I watch you this week, the first thing that comes to mind is just life comes at you fast, huh? I mean, it just seems like this is, from the outside looking in, it seems like this is a much different fight week than any other that you've been through. Is that accurate, or does this all feel familiar?
In some ways familiar, but in other ways, like I knew coming into this week that I would be experiencing some brand new things like this moment and the open workouts. I went into it with a really open mind, and I know the UFC does a really good job of like telling me, you know, this is my schedule, do this, this, and this, and I like that. You know, I can go with that. So to me, I feel like I have been here for like over a week, but it's only been like a day and a half, 2 days. So, but yeah, I've been loving every minute of it.
When you were getting ready to come out, was that something that really excited you that you were going to be doing all this stuff? Were you nervous about it? Is it a hassle? How did you feel about all the extra stuff?
I was definitely excited, a little bit nervous because I've never done anything quite like it. So that was kind of the unknown, a little bit. Kind of thinking for weeks like, oh, what am I going to wear, that kind of thing. But my fiance takes care of most of that, so he's pretty good at keeping me intact.
Are you trying to soak this experience in of like UFC co-main event, or are you trying to stay tunnel visioned on I got to beat Cris Cyborg on Saturday?
I don't have like a tunnel vision focus, but everything just kind of feels natural and in the moment, and I don't feel overwhelmed by it. I kind of feel like this is the right time for it, and I know it's definitely happened faster for me than most people, but I've been preparing myself for a long time, knowing that my division is so shallow that once I get to those, once I start to get a little bit of attention, then it would just snowball, and just really escalate quickly. So I was kind of expecting that, and it's kind of cool that it happened kind of how I expected.
So I'm sure this is hard to remember, but when do you think was the first conversation you guys had about how are we going to beat Cris Cyborg someday?
Well, I know my coaches and I have talked about, that would be a dream matchup. I mean, the game plan talk hadn't really come up. Maybe more so like when she was fighting in the UFC, or maybe the end of Invicta, we would be like, oh, that this or this happened. She's been vulnerable in a lot of her fights in certain positions, and she hasn't been like 100% domination of every fight, even though she's won pretty much every fight. There's always like, oh, did you see this moment where someone could have capitalized on this or that? And it's been definitely a few years of looking at it and just kind of jokingly like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool? And then my coach, Mike Lee, one day he was like, wait, why couldn't this happen? This could easily happen very soon. So it's kind of the switch kind of happened at some point. I don't know.
That's so interesting to hear you talk about that, because that's not the narrative really that's painted in the media and painted by the fans, that Cris Cyborg has all these holes. But you think, I mean, obviously one of them was kind of exposed in her Amanda Nunes fight, I feel like. Not without giving your game plan away, what are some of these other holes that you've noticed in Cris Cyborg?
Not so much holes, just moments in fights. And I'm pretty good at finding those moments in fights to capitalize on just the smallest things. Everyone saw Yana take her back, The last 3 of my wins have been rear naked choke, so it's like, well, that maybe would be a moment and a good example of a moment I could have done a little bit differently with. And then there's just some other things that, certain positioning and things that could be something I could take advantage of.
I was hoping to talk to you after you guys stared down, because you're about to, because I wanted to know, you haven't stared her down yet, right? I mean, you haven't been like in really close proximity yet?
We actually met at breakfast. No like official stare down or anything, but I did shake her hand at getting coffee.
Well, of course, one of the big things about Cyborg is we always talk about how physically imposing she is. I know it was just a handshake at breakfast, but did you get a sense of like how big she is, or her size, or did you take anything away, I guess, from the breakfast handshake?
It was a really cool moment because she's a legend, but I've looked at her for a long time. Like she's not like larger than life. She's not that crazy big. She's very physical. She's very athletic. But we are definitely the same size basically. I didn't find anything like intimidating about the moment. I thought she had very soft skin in her hands, I know she got her hands like her manicure done. I was like, oh, that was a good good pick. So
Do you usually notice like the texture of people's hands, or her hands were like so soft, like it just jumped out?
it was something that really just jumped out at me. I was like, oh my God, her hands are so soft. Like mine are really not. So I just thought it was kind of I mean, not like she was still strong, but soft. It was kind of cool.
Strong but soft cyborg. I like it. One thing that Amanda Nunes told me about her fight that I find fascinating, and I wanted to ask you about it, is that her mom said she was worried about her in that fight. Her mom was like, "You're going up against Cyborg. I've seen her highlights. I'm worried about you." I just wonder, is there anybody in your personal life who has kind of expressed some concern over like this woman's scary? Have you gotten any of that?
Nobody really close to me has said anything like that. My mom actually was kind of excited. She was like, "Oh my God, this is," she knows the kind of people that I fought coming up. That, even though it was like low in our professional careers, the girls I faced have been very strong. Some are definitely bigger than Cyborg, and my mom's seen me, take them out, so she has the ultimate confidence that I can do it with Cyborg too. Everyone else, kind of out, kind of gives me these like weird looks sometimes, like that's scary, but it's all part of it. I don't have the same mindset though. I'm not afraid of a person standing in front of me.
Well, my last question is, and you mentioned your game plan. How strong is your game plan, and how committed are you to a game plan? Because it just seems like to me, when you're fighting Cris Cyborg, there comes a moment a lot of times, often in her fights, where game plans don't matter as much because it's kind of just like a physical. I don't want to call it a brawl, but it becomes just more physical, where game plans maybe not be as important. Are you coming in with a very strong game plan of like, this is how I'm going to beat Cris Cyborg, or do you feel like you're going to have to be open-minded?
Absolutely. I definitely don't have like a pigeonhole, like this is what I'm going to do. Most people probably expect, like I said, a rear choke. I've had so many, but I'm comfortable with all parts of the fight game. And for me, like I said, just finding the openings when they happen and being able to take the fight where I want it to go is not something I can rush. I have to be patient and just take it when it comes. So I'm definitely not like thinking about one specific thing. It's like you said, it's going to be a grind one way or another, and I expect to come out on top.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Hawani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.